At the car dealership, my father pressed the loan agreement into my palm. Just put your name on it. It's for your brother. My mother clutched my arm so tightly I flinched. I passed a scribbled note to the receptionist. They're asking me to co-sign a $39,000 loan. The manager glanced at it, gave a subtle nod, and I'm Daniel, 31 years old. The middle child. The one who repairs printers and emotions. I draft emails for work. Customer success manager. My talent is saying no while sounding like a warm embrace. I live in a one-bedroom apartment above a corner store that smells like citrus at dawn. I thrive on dark coffee and to-do lists. People call me dependable, trustworthy, unseen. Growing up, my family was boisterous, affectionate, always a bit late on something. Rent, car loans, rest. My older brother, Jason, had a laugh that echoed through the house. My younger sister, Mel, tracked everything. Scores, slights, discounts. Me, I was the anchor. If a task needed handling, my name became a verb. Can you Daniel this? Meant fix it quietly. Our parents had a favorite. They never admitted it. They didn't need to. When Jason entered, the room leaned toward him like flowers chasing sunlight. He got the best seat, the last bite, the first chance. When I earned an A, Mom would say, naturally, you're our planner. When Jason barely passed a course, Dad would share it online with a dozen emojis. So when Dad texted, drop by the dealership after work. Surprise for Jason. I knew my role, hold the package, stay out of the spotlight, maybe skip a day to wait in line somewhere. The dealership gleamed with glass walls and upbeat tunes. Salespeople in sleek suits glided like they were on ice. Jason stood by a black SUV, waxed to a mirror shine. He wore his I've earned this smirk, the one he flashed for gifts and rewards he hadn't worked for. Mom hugged me so hard my shoulder ached. Dad patted my back like we were on the same team. Check out this gem, Jason said, tapping the hood with a ring I'd forgotten he had. Fully loaded, space for a third row, you know, for future kids, right? He winked at the air. I did the sibling thing, stood firm. My voice took that even tone it gets when I'm already calculating. Fuel efficiency, insurance costs, interest rates. I could hear my mental ledger rearranging the numbers. A salesman appeared with a pen and the confidence of someone who knows where the ink goes. We're almost done, he said. Just some paperwork. Mom's nails dug into my arm. You look so sharp today, she whispered. Then softer, be generous today. Dad's smile didn't touch his eyes. He held a clipboard like it was a relay stick he was about to hand off. Just a few details, he said. Routine stuff. Routine, Jason repeated, admiring his reflection in the showroom glass like he'd court himself if he could. I noticed a couple nearby bickering quietly, their kid smashing a bag of snacks into crumbs. The showroom music shifted to something with a beat. A coffee machine hissed at the refreshment counter. Everything felt too vivid, like the light had claws. The salesman slid a form across the table. We need all parties here to sign in the right spots, he said. All parties? I asked. Mom's grip tightened. It's standard, she said quickly. These things are particular. Don't frown, Danny. Dad nudged the clipboard toward me. You know, Jason's had some credit bumps, he said, like he was asking me to hold a bag. Not a life. Jason shrugged. You're the one who reads the small print, he said. Just back me up, man. The first spark was tiny. A date misprinted at the top. Yesterday's date, a careless typo. I stared at it too long. I heard my own voice in my head. Not today, not again. I didn't say no, not yet. I asked, what am I signing exactly? The salesman grinned, polished. We'll review each page. Good, I said. My voice sounded foreign, calm, almost kind. Dad inhaled like he was gearing up to argue. Mom's fingers pressed harder. Jason scrolled his phone. I glanced at the fake plant, the glass door. My reflection layered over the street outside like I could walk through myself. I thought of my rent due on the 1st, the savings goal in my app. The student loan balance I still knew by memory. I thought of all the times just help us out meant me shifting the line another step. Then another. The salesman tapped the page. Right here, he said, but his pen lingered over a blank line under my printed name, already spelled perfectly. Convenient. The coffee machine hissed again. The music pulsed again. Somewhere a printer sputtered. I inhaled the scent of fresh leather and old coffee and ignored the story my body was telling me. This is where you give in. I didn't give in. I just stopped. When I was 9, I lent Jason my entire Pokémon collection because he swore he'd trade me something incredible later. He returned with a sticker and said I should be thankful. Mom chuckled and told me to share. Dad said he's your brother. When I was 12, Jason borrowed my bike. He brought it back with a broken chain and claimed the hill attacked him. Dad called it a mishap. We couldn't afford repairs that summer. I walked. When I was 16, Jason threw a party. The neighbors complained. Our parents nearly lost their appliance loan deposit because Dad had to cover a fine. Mom wept in the kitchen, and I scrubbed plastic cups until my hands ached, then set my alarm for 5 a.m. to work an extra shift at the grocery store. "You're a good son," she said into my hair. I smelled like beer for 2 days. At 18, Jason got a credit card for gas and emergencies, then used it for club nights and a spontaneous trip. When the bills arrived, Mom stopped sleeping and Dad stopped humming. We all paid for those snapshots. At 22, after college, I moved home for a few months. A few months became a year and a half. My student loans were $327 monthly. I paid them. I also covered half the utilities when Dad was short. "We'll pay you back," he said. They didn't because family doesn't keep receipts. Meanwhile, Jason chased his dreams and almost began. Real estate course never finished. App concept, big promises, no product. Personal training, 2 clients, both left. Selling sneakers online, lost interest. He always had a tale that softened Mom's eyes. "He's a visionary," she'd say. "You're so practical, it evens out." Evening out meant I did the balancing. I learned to say yes before they asked, the way you learn to brace for a wave when you see it building. And there were the small stings you don't notice until you stack them. The time I got a raise and Mom said, "See, quiet effort pays off," then pivoted to Jason's new workout plan. The Christmas when Jason forgot gifts. We laughed, called him Mr. Simple, and I doubled my presents so he wouldn't look bad. The family chat where Mom sent links to cars Jason wanted with heart emojis and gave my apartment photo a single thumbs up. Money wove through everything, not heaps of it, just enough to notice who carried it. When bills came, Mom sighed, "We'll sort it out." We meant I'd check my balance, calculate, trim. I built a budget with a line called family. In 2022, it was $68.40. In 2023, $52.10 because I got weary. I stopped tracking mid-year because tallying made me angry, and anger wasn't allowed. Mel saw it sometimes. "You're being taken advantage of," she'd say, then bite her lip like the words might shatter something. She held both truths, the love, the tally, and couldn't reconcile them. She also knew Mom kept a photo album of Jason called My Champion. The request at the dealership wasn't new. 2 months prior, Dad called on a Sunday at 8:12 a.m. "It'll be quick," he said, which meant it wouldn't. "The bank's being fussy," he said. "They need another signer, just a formality." He loved that word. Formality, like red tape, was the issue, not decisions. I asked, "What's the loan amount?" He said, "We'll go over it later." I said, "Interest rate?" He said, "Don't complicate things." I said, "My credit." He said, "You're responsible." That was the point. I was. We didn't speak for a week after because I'd asked too many questions. Mom texted a photo of a white SUV with a bow and wrote, "Picture Jason with a family. He needs something reliable." I pictured the monthly payment instead, and reliable soured. Then Jason called, a rare one-on-one. "I'm not asking for your cash," he said. "Just your name. You won't even feel it." I'd feel it every month in my bones. But arguing with him is like debating a speaker. You can respond, but the tune plays on. So we ended up at the dealership. The manager came out once, a broad man with kind eyes. He shook hands, noticed my suit, asked about my job. I gave the polished version of my title because it makes people smile. He smiled. "We'll look after you," he said. And I wondered if he meant me or the deal. The issue wasn't one document, it was history. It was me being the one they could rely on to carry, to buffer, to stay silent. My family's favorite thing about me was the thing that cut me. I was reliable. In college, I learned about sunk cost fallacy. You keep pouring good effort into a bad investment because you don't want to lose what you've already spent. Family can be a sunk cost if you let it. You think, "I've already given this much. If I give a bit more, maybe it'll even out." It doesn't. It teaches the system you'll absorb the impact. I absorbed late-night calls. "Your brother needs a pickup at 1:10 a.m. surprise childcare." Jason promised to watch a friend's kid and forgot. Small loans. $80 here, $250 there. Once $900 for emergency dental work. And time, so much time, spent easing my parents' fears. 2 weeks before the dealership, over dinner, Mom said, "We're so proud of you. You're our foundation." Then she slid an insurance quote toward me, "Just until Jason gets settled." I laugh because sometimes the absurdity stings before it scars. "He's 34, I said. Mom blinked like I'd spilled a secret. Those small moments build tension in hidden places. You get skilled at smiling while your jaw locks. You rehearse helpful phrases. "Sure thing, no trouble, glad to help." The words that make everyone exhale. You forget you can rehearse other ones too. Back at the dealership, the salesman flipped pages like a performer. "Sign here, here." Initial. My full name looked odd in print, like it belonged to someone more formal. Dad tapped the pen against the clipboard, a restless rhythm. Mom whispered, "Don't shame us." Jason adjusted his hair in his phone's camera. I thought of the budget line called family, of my quiet goals. Owning a car that didn't need a miracle, taking a trip without being on call every hour, moving somewhere with another window. I thought of the number 39,000. It hadn't been said yet, but it lingered like static. Any questions? The salesman asked, and something in me rose finally, not to argue, to inquire. "Yes," I said, "I have a question." It startled them. Dad's pen stopped. Mom's hand fell from my arm. Jason made an irritated sound, like his game was interrupted. I pulled a receipt from my pocket, the back of a store slip with a note I'd written while pretending to text. I slid it across to the clerk at the desk. Small print, precise. They want me to co-sign a $39,000 loan. The clerk's eyes moved from the note to my face. He didn't overreact. He just nodded once like we were colleagues in a busy office and stood quietly. He walked to the glass door of a side office. Knocked. The manager, the broad man with kind eyes, looked up, saw us, and gestured us in. "Let's take a moment," he said. His tone was even. He closed the door carefully, leaving it slightly ajar. I could still see my family through the glass, distorted by the angle. They looked like a photo I could set aside. We stood, just me and the manager, in the small office that smelled like ink. He sat. He pointed to the chair. I stayed standing because my legs felt like the only true part of me. He said, "Do you really want to co-sign this loan?" "No," I said, easy as exhaling. It shocked me how easy. "I don't." He nodded. "Okay, I'm not trying to cause a scene," I said. "I don't want drama. You won't get it from me," he said. He turned a page on his desk. "You know, co-signing makes you fully liable if he misses payments." "I know," I said. I thought of my credit score, my small badge of pride. I pictured it as a garden I'd tended. I thought of the calculator I'd opened last night at 11:43 p.m., punching numbers until the screen felt like a warning. "I can tell them we need to verify paperwork and call you privately later," he said. "Or I can say we can't proceed without your in-person consent." He looked at me steadily. "Both are true, thank you," I said. My voice wavered on you. I hadn't felt shielded by a stranger in a long time. He studied my face like I was a client. "No issue." "Do you want me to tell them you're declining?" he asked. "I'll tell them," I said, and the room shifted. I sat, I breathed. I thought of all the ways they'd push back. Guilt, noise, history. And I chose to be clear. We walked out. Dad looked up with the grin he uses for deals. Mom's lips were already forming a please. Jason rolled his shoulders like a fighter before the round. I placed both hands on the table, palms down like I was steadying a map in a storm. "I'm not co-signing," I said. There was a moment of quiet. The showroom music hit a cheerful note that sounded like a sitcom laugh. Dad frowned first. "Don't be theatrical," he said. "It's just a signature." Mom's voice softened into the tone she uses when I'm the difficult one. "Honey, it's family." Jason escalated quickly. "Are you for real?" He pushed back from the chair. "I needed you once." I kept my voice steady. "It's not once." Mom reached for my arm again. I stepped back. "This isn't about payback," I said, surprising myself with words that had been circling inside me for weeks. "This is about ending a cycle that's been hurting me." Dad's face flushed. "You think you're above us now, with your budgets?" "I think I'm exhausted," I said, "of being the safety net." Jason snorted. "You're making me look bad," he said. "You did that," I said softly. "Not me." The manager cleared his throat. "We can pause this application," he said, standing in the neutral way of someone trained to avoid lawsuits. Dad pointed at the paper. "We'll find another lender," he said. "They'll take his signature." "They might," I said, "but I'm not in it." Mom's eyes glistened with angry tears. "After all we've done for you," she said. "You raised me," I said. "I'm thankful. I also won't risk my financial future for a car I won't drive." Jason laughed, humorless. "Unbelievable. I'd do it for you." "You had chances, Jay," I said. "You've had them." The words weren't a blade. They were a boundary with stakes. The manager tucked a paper into a folder. "Why don't you all take some time?" he said. He looked at me, then the door. "I'm going home," I said. Dad opened his mouth. I raised a hand, not to silence him, but to mark the end. "We can talk when we're calm." I handed the pen back to the salesman. He took it like it weighed something. On my way out, I bought a water bottle at the refreshment counter because my hands needed a simple task. The cashier said, "Tough day?" I said no, and surprised myself by meaning it. The calls started before I reached the parking lot. 3 from Dad, 2 from Mom, 1 from Jason. Then a text. "Wow," then another. "You humiliated us." Then a paragraph that used selfish 4 times and responsible not once. I drove to my apartment and set my phone face down on the passenger seat like it was acting out. At a stoplight, it buzzed 5 times. When I parked, the screen showed 14 missed calls. I watched the number climb. 15, 16. I let it pile up. It felt like evidence, like a record I could file under Y. Inside, I opened my notes app and wrote, March, $250 for their utilities. April, $600 for Dad's dental. May, 3 airport trips for Jason. 1:10 a.m., 11:45 p.m., 5:30 a.m. June, edited his resume, 3 drafts. July, borrowed my car for a week, returned it empty. August, temporary phone plan add-on, still paying. September, dealership. I didn't write it to win, I wrote it to see the cycle with my eyes. The cycle looked like a ladder I kept climbing down. The next day, Mom left a voicemail in her soft, tearful tone. I didn't sleep, she said. My chest aches. You know your father's blood pressure. There was a pause where I heard the TV in the background. Call me. Dad's message was sharp. We'll talk like adults, he said, which in our house means he'll speak for 15 minutes and I'll apologize twice. Jason's texts came in waves. You owe me. I always show up for you. Name one time I didn't. Then a photo of him sitting on the curb outside the dealership, posed dramatically. Happy now? I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and cleaned my kitchen with the focus of someone erasing a history. I washed every glass. I scrubbed the toaster. I tossed the soy sauce packets in the drawer from 2 apartments ago. When I finished, the kitchen looked fresh and nothing else did. That afternoon, Mel called. I answered for her. You alive? She asked. So far, I said. She made a sound, half chuckle, half sigh. They're on a rampage, she said. Dad said betrayal. Mom said, how could you? Jason said some words I won't repeat. I didn't raise my voice, I said, as if that might protect me. It won't. In my family, the volume isn't the crime. The boundary is. I know, Mel said softly. I'm proud of you. I sat on the floor by my couch. I feel like I planted a bomb I have to live beside, I said. You didn't plant it, she said. You stepped away from it. We discussed logistics. Holidays, the inevitable family dinner where everyone acts like nothing happened. Then someone says, since we're being honest. And it unravels again. Maybe skip this Sunday, Mel said. Give it a week, or a decade, I said, and surprised myself by grinning. For 3 days, I didn't respond. The messages got stranger. On Monday, Mom sent a Google image of a toddler in a car seat with the caption, Safety First. On Tuesday, Dad sent a screenshot of an article about loyal families. On Wednesday, Jason wrote, Found another lender, they're good. Just send your social and a selfie with your ID. I replied, no. He sent 50 exclamation points. I counted. Then he wrote, You're dead to me, followed by, Come on, man, 5 minutes later, followed by, It's no big deal, 20 minutes after that. It read like he was texting 3 different people and forgot which chat this was. I set a rule. I'd reply once daily to Mom and Dad with one line. I love you. I'm not co-signing. When Dad called, I let it go to voicemail, then texted the line. When Mom wrote, What about our reputation? I sent the line. When Jason group texted the family chat, I didn't join. Mel sent a screenshot and added, I'll call you later. I sent a heart. Outside the chaos, my life began to expand. Small shifts, all mine. I left my phone in the kitchen at night. I slept, not well, but better. I walked before work and noticed the woman sweeping the sidewalk, singing softly. I said hello. She said, Morning, Chief. And I felt something in me rise at the simple honor of it. I made a new budget with a category called Me. It had entries like therapy, $110, sneakers I really want, $95, a savings transfer labeled escape fund, $300. I didn't have an escape fund. I just liked the idea that I could. At work, my boss asked if I'd lead a training. You've got that calming magic, she said. I almost said no out of reflex. I said yes and wrote a slide called Boundaries Are Care. I put it in bold like I was teaching myself. Thursday night, Dad showed up at my apartment unannounced. He knocked with purpose. I opened because I'm still me. He walked in, scanned the place like he could value my life by the shoes by the door. You've shamed us, he said. No greeting. Want water, I asked. Neutral. He said no and sat like a judge. He launched into a list, how much they'd sacrificed. How tough things were when we were young. How Jason isn't bad, just unfortunate. How family means giving. He spoke for 18 minutes. I know because I set a timer. When it beeped, he blinked. My turn, I said. I kept my hands on my knees. I love you, I said. Not as leverage, but as a foundation. I'm not co-signing. I also won't debate this daily. If you bring it up, I'll leave or hang up. He leaned back like I'd struck him. Is this your therapist talking? It's me talking, I said. His jaw tightened. For a moment, I saw the calculation in his face. The worth of me as a resource versus the risk of losing me. He stood. Your mother's crying, he said. I'm sorry she's hurting, I said. I'm not changing my answer. At the door, he turned. You're different. I hope so, I said. After he left, I sat on the floor again and let the adrenaline tremble through me. Then I made pasta, put on a silly show, and laughed at a joke that wasn't that funny. It felt like the first real laugh in months. On Friday, the dealership manager called. Just checking, he said. We're not moving forward with anything tied to your name. His tone was cautious. If someone pretends to be you, they might try, I said. Got it, he replied. We're flagging the file. He paused. Nice work, he added, and hung up before I could make it weird. The next Sunday, I skipped family dinner. I cooked for myself. Chicken, green beans, rice, the kind of meal that tastes like a choice. At 6:15 p.m., I glanced at my phone out of habit. No new messages, not because they'd stopped, because I'd muted the chat. The silence felt like a space I was allowed to occupy. Closure 2 weeks later, I met Mom for coffee in a neutral spot. The mall food court, where arguments feel out of place. She arrived wearing sunglasses like she'd been crying or wanted to seem like she had. I bought her tea. We sat at a sticky table and watched teens circle each other. You're stubborn, she said finally. I learned from you, I said. We both smiled faintly. She removed the sunglasses. Her eyes were puffy. Your father thinks you hate us, she said. I don't, I said. I just won't do that anymore. What's that? She asked, genuinely. So I told her, not with numbers, with stories, the bike, the cups, the airport runs. I said $39,000 out loud. I watched it hit. She listened, truly listened, which is new for us. When I finished, she sighed like air leaking from a worn tire. We didn't mean to make you the responsible one because he wasn't, she said. I know, I said, but that's what happened. She nodded. Jason got a car, she said. Like a confession and a complaint. A used one, not the fancy one. He's not talking to me either. My chest eased. Not because I wanted him punished, because the system had to shift when I stepped back. I hope he sorts it out, I said, and meant it. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Gently this time. You're a good man, she said. I'm proud. The pause mattered. The words landed somewhere I'd built a safe space.